So, some of you may be asking, wasn't Second Life that game from way back when? You would be right, but we're not exactly talking about that. What I'm talking about today is Teen Second Life, or the Teen Grid, as it was known back then. From, I think, 2005 to the beginning of 2011, if you were aged 13 to 17, you could be on Teen Second Life, which is basically a private version of the game exclusively filled with, well, teenagers playing the game. And in Second Life, you could kind of do a lot of everything. If you could imagine it, you could probably do it, maybe? And Second Life was very important to me. And the thing is, the Teen Grid closed. And so I wanted to make a video basically remembering my time there and trying to document it a little bit, because on the internet there's not a lot left. So we have to go back, way back.
Hello YouTubers, thank you for stopping by and watching this video.
2010. Some of you know me as Jake, or Captain Jack Ferret. Almost 10 years ago, though, my screen name was Jakey1234, or Jacoby Cat's Eye. My hair was black, I had those fake vampire fangs that everyone had back then. I had the silly bands and band bracelets. I'm sure if I hadn't shown more restraint, my username would have been XXXJakey1234XXXJakey or something. I was 13 years old and a very emo homeschooled kid. These were the days of Pretty Rave Girl, I Write Sins Not Tragedies, My Chemical Romance, Fireflies by Owl City. Halo videos were all the rage, and Halo of course was this awesome game that I was pretty darn good at. I was homeschooled, and so my social life was at best a little dim. Like many long before me and long after me, I turned to video games for my social life. Teen Second Life, or the Teen Grid, as it was called, was my home. I was not the shy, nerdy teen. I was confident, happy, and had a lot of friends who I spent countless incredible hours with. In real life, I didn't exactly fit in. In Second Life, I was a hopeless romantic. I still am, but it worked out for me. When I met my friends in Second Life, I felt like I'd finally found a home with people just like me, figuring themselves out. There wasn't any judgment for dressing weird or being seen or emo. In fact, it was encouraged. My friends there felt like a second family. They were the people I belonged with. And to belong comforts the soul. The Nick's Bazaar was this open-air store that only contained free items that were made by other people. So you go shopping there and wind up with a jazzy outfit, or alternatively wind up as a furry, which pretty much if you were on the Teen Grid, you were a furry at some point, or Nico, as they call it. To this day, if you add me on Steam, Nico still shows up in part. That's just to honor my past. To clarify, I am not a furry. There's a post on Reddit by this guy on the fall of the Teen Grid, and he also had some screenshots of the old clubs that used to be there, so check out his thread. He made a really great detailed explanation of what made the Teen Grid fall, and it's impeccably detailed, and this was actually written very recently as I was writing this, so fate has a weird way of working things out sometimes. So going clubbing in Second Life was one of the best times a person could have. In the Utopia sim, for context, a sim was basically an island that avatars could go on. There was a nightclub there that was commonly filled up with me, my friends, and other random people I didn't know. There was other clubs and random clubs just put randomly together in people's rented out space. The music was about what you'd expect from that time period, and it was nice. So sometimes you'd have clubs just randomly pop up in a sandbox where they're not supposed to be, but hey, you know. So what do you get when you mix together a bunch of teenagers in the era of Call of Duty? Well, one of the things that you get is a bunch of battling. So when you put all of us teenagers together on the Teen Grid, we started forming SLMCs, or Second Life Military Communities. So we would have military groups, we would have Sith groups, we would have Jedi groups, we would have Naruto Shippuden groups, and we would just battle it out. Granted, we all played at about 15 FPS or less because we all really didn't have gaming hardware back then. We had a kind of a crappy laptop. So a lot of us were pretty terrible, but at the same time, we did well with what we could. And to my credit, I was actually halfway decent, even though I lacked out most of the time. I somehow was able to see to the future a second, even though my frame rate wasn't working, so I don't know, it just worked out somehow. So this might not come as any surprise to you who follow my Instagram, but I kind of never grew out of the Sith thing. I still enjoy Star Wars and the Sith from time to time, as evidenced by this. One of the other big draws was the sandboxes. If you were a builder, you could make a bunch of houses and various things. I made a variety of hearts, as I was a hopeless romantic. There was also a coding language, so when you made something, you could make it functional and do something. And that was what I did. I made a bunch of functional stuff that I'm still proud of to this day, like doors and such like that. I know in hindsight, it's a little basic, but I was young back then. Making this stuff work, that was pretty awesome in my book. And of course, there was other stuff that you could do, but with all this going on, this place was incredible. A slice of heaven. This one place in the world where you knew you were interacting with people your age, and you were free to act and be whatever you wanted to be. The friends there I love to death, and still consider them friends to this day. The countless hours I spent in this world with my friends are times that I'll always remember, even if the details get a little fuzzy. It was bliss. I want to show you my unicorn video. This video is one of the moments that I was most nostalgic for, and I'm so glad that I was able to find it. This was one of the Sims. It had a musical stage part to it on the land, but underwater was the real spot to be, with dance orbs. Spending nights dancing down here was magical. And unfortunately, this Sim is no longer there. I spent many nights there, with other friends there, just having fun and enjoying myself. There was music, and the dance orbs were where two avatars could sit, and it would animate them together so you could dance and it looked right. Unfortunately, though, all good things must come to an end. News came one day that the teen grid would be merging with the main grid. The main grid held all of the adults playing Second Life. It, of course, had adult things on there, and a much better variety of items, better clothes, and just about anything you could think of. However, anyone under the age of 16 would not be transferred. I'd lose half my friends list there, as some of my friends at the time were around my age. Our land of our own, this place where there was only us teenagers, was about to be put into the big world with all the adults. The land and Sims we all came to love would now be open to the main grid. It was now no longer going to be our safe haven from the rest of the world. Protests of this decision started to pop up in the sandboxes with signs saying, "Save the teen grid," and note cards being passed around with a message from a 13-year-old saying how they'd be kicked off. I signed these and sent them on their way, as I didn't want my part of the online world to go away. And sure enough, the day came. They tried to dedicate certain spaces for us teenagers, but it wasn't the same, and those spaces were not used. And people moved on to the new regions that they could. Now, do you remember back in the beginning how we talked about clubbing? Well, clubbing came really in handy when the grids merged. me and a good friend by the name of Strummer, we made what was called the Teen Abyss. So me and Strummer wound up running the Teen Abyss for quite a while. If Lyndon wasn't going to let us keep our grid, well, we were going to have our own little safe haven for all of us displaced teen gridders. We had the Teen Abyss, a club for music and fun activities, and if someone wanted to live there, that was fine too. And so we did. The club was pretty cool, actually. It was up in space, and the area we had was really nice. And so for the last few months of my time playing, it was spent going out as we came in, partying it up. After some time of us running this club, both me and Strummer eventually left. The Abyss closed, now only visible by the note cards in the group we had. But I kept coming back for my friends. It's foolish to say that this is all just a game, and it shouldn't be taken seriously. But those avatars had people behind them. I had friends. I really didn't care what they looked like in real life. As in Second Life, they were incredibly supportive and awesome friends. These friends from almost a decade ago helped shape who I am today. They were kind and generous people who I am forever grateful to have known and been friends with. I took for granted back then just how many people cared about me and were amazing friends to me. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self to write down some email or phone numbers so I could have these people still be in my life. To Adianaka, Strummer314, Bladen, thank you for still being around and reminding me who I was back then. To Manny the Dogman, Stormy, Kiki, Carolina, Faith 96, Cherry Callow, and the ones that I can't recall. Thank you all so much for being my friend back then. I'll never forget the memories, countless hours together, enjoying our haven on the internet. I hope wherever you are, you're doing well. If any of you are watching this that I haven't been able to contact, please send me an email at captainjackferret@gmail.com. With the band My Chemical Romance coming back together, and many of the older music groups we were used to listen to back in the day, I'm excited going forward this year. Perhaps all the stuff we loved as a teenager is now going to come back full swing. The good old days are yet to come. If you were on the teen grid and have screenshots and videos from back then, I'd love to get to see them. Please email me. I think now I can put a nice bow on this and file it away. Nostalgia is a powerful thing, but the more you document things now, the less mysterious it'll be in the future.